Being born and raised in Kentucky, you get very familiar with the customs and traditions the state has to offer. In the past 17 years, I've traveled to almost every part of the state. From an outsider's perspective, the first three things that come to mind when you hear the word Kentucky is most likely horse racing, bourbon, and bluegrass music. Horse racing is very prominent in Kentucky culture, and its most famous aspect is the Kentucky Derby. The Kentucky Derby is world broadcasted, and it takes place in Churchill Downs annually. Here's a brief clip of this past year's Kentucky Derby.
The top of the stretch, near the top of the stretch, and we see the interference. The 7 on the lead, that's maximum security. The 20 ranging on the outside, and the 7 veers to the right, interfering with a number of horses. They move on anyway, and down the stretch they come, and maximum security goes on to win it with Country House second, but the 7 maximum security goes down. Jason Service thinks he wins the Kentucky Derby and has taken away from him. Bill Mott, who had never won the Kentucky Derby before, finally gets his. The Hall of Fame trainer all smiles, but didn't want to win it this way.
I'm delighted.
Now, personally, I don't know much about the rules of the Kentucky Derby, but this was a very controversial topic of this past season. And each year, the winner is given the rose blanket, and it's wrapped around the horse's neck, and is produced in Kroger and Louisville. Lexington, Kentucky is known as the horse capital of the world, and in Lexington alone, there are around 450 horse farms. Bourbon has significant ties to Kentucky culture. Kentucky makes up 90% of the world's bourbon. As of 2018, Kentucky has 68 distilleries, and a fun fact about bourbon is, in order for it to get the label of bourbon, it has to be produced and manufactured in Kentucky. If you were to try to call bourbon outside of Kentucky, and that's where you made it, then it'd just be classified as whiskey. And here's a picture of your typical bourbon bottle. They come in different shapes and sizes and words, just from where you were making them. And then Jack Daniels, they want to be classified as bourbon, but it's not made in Kentucky, so it's classified as whiskey. Music in Kentucky is very unique compared to other states. Kentucky is known for bluegrass, country, and folk music. Kentucky is the birthplace of bluegrass music. And here's a short clip of your typical bluegrass song. As you can see, this song is very reliant on the string family, and bluegrass does get its origin from its founder, which is Bill Monroe, who lived around the Beaver Dam area when he was just beginning his bluegrass career. Kentucky, in the eyes of outsiders, may have a stereotypical redneck vibe, but the state's culture is actually very unique. After hearing this speech, hopefully you all will take the time to watch the Kentucky Derby and decide whether or not this was actually a disqualification or if it was real. And listen to some more bluegrass music. It doesn't have to be by Bill Monroe. My favorite is actually Billy Strings. And just have a glass of bourbon, but not until you're 21, of course. Each state has a different culture, and it's up to us to find that culture and make it unique to ourselves.